What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. Look at this intraday chart. Absolutely epic stuff. I want to give you an overview of what is really prompting this, go over some of the data points, and if this positive momentum is going to carry forward into tomorrow. So I'm going to go over all that, but first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. At the time of doing this video, it is up 6.05%. Interestingly enough, it also did have a new 52-week low of $3.61, but that also kind of helped it to go up as much as it did. So I'm going to break that down once I go over the technicals, but 48.4 million shares were traded so far. We're about to head into power hour shortly, but 51 is the average. Despite the higher volume, a lot of that is being derived from just algorithmic trading as well as shorts. So you're not seeing that big of buying coming from institutions. Still though, you do see two transactions on the secondary market above $100,000, which is kind of refreshing because the last transactions were on April the 12th. So big money has been overlooking NIO for a very long time. And that's one thing I did really say over the last couple of videos on why it's gone down so much so fast, because you haven't really had that support coming from institutions. So hopefully today going forward, you're going to see a little bit more support levels being formed by institutions. I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. Dark pool though, you do see this very, very popular and active today, and this is linked to shorting. So I'll break that down for you in a second. Today there's been no news, no SEC filings, nothing along those lines. So it has just been piggybacking off of A, the broader market, and B, Tesla. So even though Tesla has been putting out quite a lot of bad news recently, especially leading into their earnings, which is coming out tomorrow, that kind of is being seen as positive for NIO. So when it comes down to Tesla, they've been cutting prices, for instance, on FSD, as well as multiple models out of China. So yes, it's one of those kind of scenarios, depends on how you look at it. It could be problematic for the EV sector, or it could be very bullish for NIO, similar to what happens with Ford and Rivian. Whenever one puts out bad news, such as layoffs or just a lot of expenses or some piece of negative news, the other tends to go up. No different than this. So I think today is a very clear indication that the market is seeing NIO and Tesla as direct competition in China. So that's just how I see that. And I think based off all the issues that is happening with Tesla, the market is really gravitating towards NIO. So that's just my own interpretation, of course. Today, there has been no recent analyst ratings. So still last one was done 7 days ago, initiated coverage. And yeah, I've already brought that up in previous videos. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Aside from that, I'll go over some of the current data points, starting off with shorts. Shorts aren't doing all that much. They're increasing about 96,000 shares right now. 14.6% of the free float is being shorted. Utilization is 87.99%, and then cost to borrow average is 1.4. Just to look quickly at the intraday, you did see that shorts increased their position as kind of right here. So they were the culprit on why it did hit that 52-week low today, again of 361 if I remember correctly. And they clearly bit off more than what they could chew, because then big money and algorithms took that news and started just to hammer it. So they did lose quite a lot of money during this time period, but they are starting to return some shares, which obviously is aiding in this going up. So it is all working very much perfectly. And like I said, I think bigger picture, maybe some value investors are getting into NIO. We'll just have to wait and see. But looking at options, a lot of money is getting into NIO today. 1.69 million in calls, 2.76 in puts. 62% of all the options being done today are optimistic. And possibly they're piggybacking off of maybe what might come out tomorrow. So we'll just wait and see. But of the call options that are being purchased, there's a consensus for it to be above roughly 450 by the end of this week, which Tesla has their earnings coming out tomorrow after hours. And if that is negative, and knowing how Elon likes to run his mouth, and based on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it now, like his mood has changed. So you can tell probably going into the earnings, he's going to be somewhat not the most professional. So I think the market once again is going to take that as a very bad negative for Tesla, which, as you can kind of see, that might really help NIO, bigger picture. But just to briefly look at some of the puts that are being purchased, you see a consensus for it to be sub $4. So risk versus reward is very much in the favor of upside. And with it right now at $4.03, it is trading between this pivot and this R1. I am looking at the 4-hour chart right now as well. So in reality, 408 will be that next strong target. But it did bounce off of that general area, so it had a high of 405, and this is why I said at the very beginning, by it bouncing off of 361, that actually kind of helped NIO move higher, because right here $3.61 was the low, 52-week low, like I already mentioned a couple times, but 360 is this S2. So very volatile day, as you can kind of tell, so it's jumping quite a few levels, but essentially this $3.60 is a very strong support. So it bounced off of that general area, and this is why algorithms usually pick up on that, kind of bouncing off of strong support, and usually signals buying, because even if you zoom out looking at any chart, typically whenever it goes outside the boiling band right here, causes some buying, so the opposite happens. So whenever it bounces off of support or resistance, it goes either direction. So I think in reality, that's what kickstarted the algorithms, and plus just with the whole Tesla news, it just made for a very good buying opportunity. So that's what is really affecting NIO in a positive way, and in my opinion, is this going to continue? It will all depend on Tesla earnings, which is coming out tomorrow. Like I said, if their earnings are bad, which I think Wall Street is anticipating, but depending on what they say, especially for China, like that could really help NIO. And based on the options, people are anticipating for clearly the broader market to continue to push NIO to at least in excess of $4.50. So let me know your thoughts on that and if you think it's feasible or not. It is still lower percentile of the boiling band. You do see a start to a nice bullish deviation, so white line above the red, as well as number of retail investors are getting into NIO. So let me know your thoughts. Have you been buying today? Have you been averaging down, or did you sell maybe options? What have you been doing with NIO? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, make sure you guys definitely take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 7 fractional shares of the 𝗪𝗧𝗛. So you might as well take advantage of some free shares, $35 total value. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.